Hello, everyone. It is Tuesday evening. As everybody noticed, Kellyanne is not right now here. She's having some technical issues trying to log in and she can't. She's up north, but she said, like, okay, she's trying. Let's see if she comes. Otherwise, Rick, you have the pleasure of me today. Let me welcome our guest, Rick Peck. And I know Rick from the Gogiver Alliance, as we have a lot of guests from the Gogiver Alliance, and we're all doing something different. I just have this thing flying around here. and so it is great to have you here tonight as our guest, Rick. Really appreciate you right after Christmas, before New Year's. But it's great. Last week we had Matthew and Eleanor here. It's always great to have you guys around here because everybody in the Go-Giver Alliance, and as you will say, has something different to offer, and we also in so much variety, from motivational speaker and to real estate agents and everything. I think I really love that because the combination of the people. So, Rick, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, what's the time right now in the States?
It is 3:04 p.m. Eastern time here in Concord, New Hampshire.
It's lovely because it's 8 o'clock here in the evening already. But anyway, it's by 3 o'clock here. I don't know how it's in the States right now, but here 3 o'clock it's already dark. So it doesn't make any difference.
It's getting dark here too. It's usually about 4:15. It's pretty dark. So
right. So we'll be back in a minute. Just let's run the intro, and then I'll start in what you're doing and everything. So stay tuned. Well, we are back.
That's quite an intro.
It's quite an intro. I'm a bit of a geek.
Looks great.
I do like animation. I had this last week. I had the Christmas one, which I put as well in the Go-Giver Alliance, was the Christmas tree that I created just like 4 hours. I was like, okay, I like doing animation. It's a fun thing. I learned for some reason. I don't ask me why I started learning it. and I really, it becomes really handy when you have to create things like that. People ask me, can you do that for me? And I said, sure, I can do something for you. It's just, I really enjoy it. It's just something I always wanted to become animator, actually, with these Disney studios. I lived in Burbank for a while, and I always said, like, I'm going to apply for it. Never did it, but that's okay. But it's a hobby. It's a hobby to do animation.
Well, so, speaking of the Go-Giver, I was going to say, speaking of the Go-Giver, I have somebody I could introduce you to who does sort of motion picture stuff and design, and it seems like somebody you'd want to meet her. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. We can talk afterwards.
Please. I am a very, very firm believer of networking, and somebody just posted today when I connected on LinkedIn with him, and he said, you're absolutely right, networking is your net worth. And I think that is such a great thing to say. And I do connect with people on LinkedIn. Beside of, it has nothing to do with what comes out of it. I just reach out to people and connect to them, and I have a genuine conversation. And I'm really one of these people that send you a message and says, well, it's great you connected, but how about we have a 2-hour chat? And I send them a Zoom link where I find something out of it. It's not about finding new clients. I'm one of these coaches as well that doesn't do advertisement and things like that. My business has always been referral, and I do believe in that. And I have had so many conversations with people that didn't become clients of mine, but I helped them in some sense. I gave them value, as we all go-giver, we give them value. But from that one, there came referrals back. And I don't take on everybody. I'm very limited with who I take on, because I do believe that I want to be able to help the person. And if I cannot help the person, I might have somebody in my network. I say, I think that's the right person for you. So just go there. I have other coaches in my network, which I do believe that. But you see, being really honest to me, today, actually, I reached out to him, and for some reason, he accepted. Jamie Oliver, the big chef, Jamie Oliver, just accepted like 10 minutes before the show my invitation, and I'm so excited. I'm stoked. Actually, I love Jamie. Actually, and it
Yeah,
comes back
congratulations.
because I'm in really many years back. I trained as a chef, so obviously. I have some connection there as well. So it's like it really, but it's impressive. You meet so many people, and you never know what it's for. You never know, actually, and I think that's the entire part of the go giver, giving to other people value, and as well receiving value back from other people. So here we go.
Right.
But
So true.
anyway, Rick, tell me, what do you do?
What do I do? Well, a long time ago, I was a financial advisor, and I worked with people one on one or as a couple, talked to them about retirement planning, education planning, maybe talking about insurance, saving for a vacation, saving, and just doing that. I did that for about 7 years. And then I was talking to my wife one day, and she worked at Dartmouth College. And she said, "Let's see if there's anything over here at Dartmouth that would be of interest to you." And I said, "I don't think so. I'm trained as a financial advisor. I'm not really sure what I would do at Dartmouth College, an educational institution." So we started looking at some things, and we saw this one position that said associate director of gift planning. And I said, "Well, that's interesting. It seems like it has to do with estate planning or donations. Haven't really dealt with that before, but a lot of my skill set seemed to transfer over to this." So I said, "Why not?" So I applied, and I got the position. And I was a non-traditional candidate because normally they wouldn't take in a financial advisor. They would take in maybe an attorney traditionally. But I found it translated very well because I would talk to people all over the country, Dartmouth alumni who had graduated from the undergraduate school and lived all over the different parts of the US. And I would just travel to them and say, "Hi, what do you want to know about Dartmouth? You want to catch up?" And very conversational. And then we would obviously talk about donating if that's what they wanted to talk about charitable giving, talk about giving in different and unusual ways. So I found it to be a great transition from working as a professional advisor to working as a philanthropic advisor. So that's been my career path since 2005. So about 16 years now, I've worked in the world of philanthropy. It's really engaging and very gratifying.
And you see, I wrote today in when I announced you, and I said, being a go-giver on heart, actually, that's one thing already, understanding how you can give other people. But then even I said, I think I made the statement where I said, now we're living in a me-orientated world. And how can you change that and being impactful on other people if you take maybe a step and do some charity work or charitable giving? And I think that is something, such a great thing to do, because I think unfortunately this world has become a bit more down to the bottom line, things like this. Okay, well, how much money do we make and how much gross do we actually bring up? But we do forget that our people still around that might be even your neighbor that goes through really a lot of struggles in their life, and I think everybody just looks on the side. Had an incident last year, and I'm too honest, with the pandemic, and we talked earlier before the show a bit in the green room, where I went, and everybody here in the UK started clapping and went out for the NHS stuff and everything, but that's great. They cannot buy anything from that, to be very honest, from your clapping, which is great. It's an appreciation, and I understand that. But what I did is, like, I went into a supermarket and I had an NHS nurse in front of me at the cash desk, and she just bought a bottle of wine and some cheese and whatever. And you could tell she coming out of service. She was still in blue. She was just finishing her shift. And you could see she was exhausted because the hours they have spent, these people, and in helping, saving other people. And how you see, like, being a go-giver, don't put yourself in front, just put other people first in front. That's, I think, when you're a nurse, that's what you do. When a doctor, that's what you do in service anyway. So I went to the cash desk and I just passed her and I tapped my card. And she just looked at me, and she said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I just paid for it." And she's like, "Why?" And I said, "Well, that's my thank you to you for your service." And she started crying, and I said, "No, don't cry." I mean, a lot of people around me thought like I was crazy, but and I did it several times actually over the pandemic. Did the same thing when I saw an NHS stuff, and I didn't. For me, wasn't even the money point here. Even if she had a grocery of £200, I would have still have paid it, because it was for me just saying thank you. I mean, I got affected by it as well, and it's like I just thought doing something without any attachment to it. It was just saying a thank you, and I think people forget about that. So I'm talking about charitable things as well. It's like it's great to when I hear friends, oh, I'm donating to whatever animal rescues, and they coming in at the house here and they ask you to sign it up, and I say, well, I did that, and I can deduct it from my tax, and I'm like, sorry, this is not what the idea of doing a charitable thing is. It's like, okay, fine, you do it for a charity because you want to help, not because you can get a tax deduction from it. It's great that you get a tax deduction from it. That's okay. But then I don't think that. And so I appreciate that you are one of the people that actually believe in giving to people, first of all. And I think that should be the core point of it here, doing a charitable giving, and not only how can I change my image to other people. I don't know how you see that.
Excuse me, you bring up an interesting point. Sometimes we just talk about how people give for different reasons. And historically, if you look at the top reasons why people give, tax planning is not number one. It is for some people. It's the number one reason they're doing it, but that's not, if you survey a group of people, it's probably number 4 or 5. Okay. But usually it's leading with, I want to make a difference. I care about the mission. I want to make an impact in the world. That's why they lead with that. And you see that also when you note that sometimes in the past, at least in the United States, people wouldn't necessarily itemize. So that means they were making charitable gifts, but they weren't necessarily trying to substantiate that and show that they could get a tax deduction. So, and you see that all over the place with all kinds of things. Like in the United States, the Salvation Army is outside of a store, and people are just throwing in dollars. They're not asking for a gift receipt. So they're just, so I would say that majority of the people that I work with, they're coming in like this. They're saying, I've been giving for a long time to different organizations. I want to take a step back and find out, am I actually making an impact? Am I actually doing what I hope I'm doing with my money, is making a difference? Some people actually come in and they say, I've been giving to organizations, but it's been very reactive. People ask me for money and I give it, but it's not necessarily what I personally care about. I'm doing it to be a good person, but I'm giving to my neighbor's charity, or I'm giving to something that means something to somebody else, but not necessarily me. So sometimes it's just a matter of sitting down and saying, Chris, what do you care about? What would make an impact what would make you feel good to give to? And you might say, I'm not really sure. So sometimes we'll do an exercise where it's a visual exercise where you have a deck of picture cards, and the deck of picture cards, you just go through them and you pick out 3 or 4 items that speak to you in some way. And then we all would do that. Say we go around the table, say there was a group of us. And then you would start and say, Chris, why did you pick those 3 or 4 cards? And you say, because of these reasons. I picked a veteran because my father was a veteran, or I picked this older person because growing up, my parents and I would go and deliver food to older people. So you start to talk through why these cards mean something to you. And then you go back to what I was just saying, which is, okay, do you give to those organizations now? And a person says, no, actually, I don't. I give to the organizations that people ask me to give to. And so that the light bulb goes off, and the person says, well, I'm not giving to the organizations or the causes that are important to me. Maybe I need to change that. So then we get into a really nice discussion after that and dive right in, roll up our sleeves and determine what that looks like. So as a community foundation where I work, we will come back to people and say, here's some things you might want to be thinking about, something to do with whatever it is that you are interested in. Or I might bring in a new idea that you hadn't thought about and present that to you. And you say, yeah, that is of interest to me. Or not quite. Could you go a little deeper on something else? So you can see it's very much a journey and an iterative process, and I find it to be very gratifying because you do help to bring fulfillment and gratification to people where they might not start there. They might start with a
Hmm.
at a point of frustration. So hopefully we can help people work through that and come to a place where they feel they go to bed at night and feel good about what they're doing with their charitable dollars.
No, and I think that is so great because obviously, as you said, you find these organizations standing out every supermarket and everything. I mean, I grew up in the States, so obviously I know how it's run in the States. The UK runs a pretty much same system here, and it's sometimes, yes, you do feel, as you said, you just drop a dollar or a pound, it doesn't matter, you don't even think too much about it. But I do, obviously. I'm one of these people that just go back and say, what do I really impact? What is in the core values for me? I mean, as I said, animal charities are great for me. I have been very active when I was living in the States with the Dalmatian rescue charities. I went into the Disney theater in Hollywood when they released 102 Dalmatians, because after 101 Dalmatians, thousands of Dalmatian ended up in the shelter because people said, "Oh, it's a cute dog," and they got it, and then they didn't even know anything about the breed, and then there were thousands of them ended up in the shelters. And you know how it is in the States; they only keep them for a certain time, and then they have to put them down. And so then Disney forgot really. They somehow did something to educate people. So we had like a puppy house there, and we had someone to them for adoption, and but we were educating people. So I was very involved in that one. Obviously, that was really at the heart of me because I grew up with Dalmatians. So, but then my mom died of pancreas cancer. So I'm very proactive on cancer research as well. And I have myself have ADHD. So obviously I'm very active in that ADHD research for adults, because with children we do a lot, but adults we forget a bit. They always think like it goes away. No, it doesn't. I'm
Yeah.
50 and it's still not gone. So, and these are things that are really important for me, like veterans. Yes, I do support that as well, but I need to narrow it down, because sometimes I feel like here in the UK, they work for one charity organization, and then they do have the different charities. So you might get it to the supermarket every time you go. They're the same people sending there, but with another charity. And I feel like sometimes like, okay, I cannot do everybody. If I wish I could, but I can't, right?
Right.
So obviously it's really great that you say, helping companies as well and individuals to figure out what do you really care about, and what
Yeah.
what can you do, and the gratitude you get from it. Because when I see that there is an advancement or certain things, I know I have funded part of it. And I think it's pretty much like how you say, if you're trying to fund a startup basically, and if you believe in something, and you can, that's not a charitable situation, but you're actually helping them to fund it because you believe in what they're doing. So and I think that is really important, especially charity. It's not just the £1, which is great, but I think if you can put more money into it, if you really care about something, that has a way bigger impact.
Yeah.
So how do you think that as I said initially, people have become a bit me orientated. What do you see in your company? How is this shifting now, especially now after pandemic? Like we haven't, well, we think I probably everybody figured out we are only strong together,
Yeah.
and
Well,
not figured out anymore.
I think what is very fascinating to me and very gratifying and very pleasing to me is when there are times in the world where there are disasters. You hear about floods or earthquakes or tornadoes or a pandemic. People do step forward. They do want to help. And again, for all the reasons we were talking about, everybody has a different reason, but people seem to rush forward. For example, there were lots of COVID-19 response funds across the United States that were set up. I think Fidelity, for example, was posting about 600 of them across the country, and they mapped it all out.
Hmm.
And so people could hover and choose something. If they had a Fidelity charitable gift fund, for example, they could hover and then dive in and go and give money to one specific COVID-19 response fund. So that was great that Fidelity did that, and it just showed what the need was across the United States. Here in New Hampshire, there was a COVID-19 fund set up that attracted $10 million. And some of those dollars weren't necessarily from New Hampshire residents. They were from companies and individuals across the country that wanted to help. So they were just dispersing their money in different ways. So I find that, yes, there are a lot of people who are very oriented to themselves and creature comforts and various items they want to buy. But I also feel that you see in lots of different ways people volunteering that really touch your heart. You think these people don't really have the time to do this, and yet they're reaching out for the reasons we talked about. It means something to them. They want to help. They want to be board members. They want to lead the board or the organization through tough times, or they want to donate money because they feel like that's the way they can help. So I think that many people are hardwired to want to give of themselves in some way. And you see it in the numbers. There's a giving report that was just put out that I can maybe send to you after this. Yeah. And it shows these massive numbers. And that's just dollars. That's just charitable donations. But there's also reports that track on volunteer hours and so on. And it just shows that people are inherently generous. Some are not. We know a lot of people who don't have the philanthropic gene, as they say. They just don't understand why they should give. It's not of interest to them. And it doesn't matter how many conversations you have with them, they're not going to do it. And yet other people, you just wonder how much they're able to do in the course of a day. It's like, how do you sleep? How do you do your work? You're so giving as an individual. You are doing so much to help others. How do you function? And so it's like those are two extremes. But I find that people consistently find ways to give more and more of themselves if they can, and that's what keeps me going. And I appreciate knowing those types of people, and I learn a lot from those individuals. We teach each other. I teach them what I know, and they teach me, I feel like, so much more.
Yeah, and you see, you made a very good point, because I think everybody thinks always about charitable giving is money, or brings back to what Bob always says: value has nothing to do with money, basically, right? And you can give time, and and I think that is just something sometimes so underestimated, actually, what you could do actually with time. And just might be going Christmas and going to help Salvation Army or the Red Cross or anything, distributing meals to homeless people, giving them blankets. This is time you're donating, and time is money. Obviously, we all know that. So I think everybody could do something. And one is like, sometimes it's like when I see, in the United States has a lot of it. I grew up in the San Francisco area, but I was just 2 years ago, I was in San Francisco, and I saw the amount of homeless people I actually saw in the city of San Francisco was quite shocking for me, because I've been out of the country for almost 15 years now, and coming in there, and I'm like looking, and I was like, wow, that really shocked me. Now, do I believe that's me, being me, just giving money? No. Oh, if somebody sit there, I'm hungry, I might go into McDonald's or whatever and get them some food. Doesn't mean that I wouldn't give money, but in primarily, I said, I want to help them. What do they actually need right now? Or even have a conversation with them and said, well, how about going to shelter? Because it's getting really cold. It's getting really chilly. San Francisco, nothing here in the UK. We were having right now temperatures in the 30s, which is really, really cold. But I think sometimes it's just people need to stop and have a look as well what they're doing. So, and as you said, it's like, for me, time is one of the biggest values I can give. And it's sometimes underestimated, isn't it?
Yeah, and also people's intellectual, what they bring from their life experience. There's that. When there's a form of volunteering where people who are retired go and help budding entrepreneurs or people who are just getting started. That's time and all the expertise. And I remember talking to one gentleman. He said, he said, I have all this knowledge, and just because I'm not getting paid for this anymore doesn't mean I don't have a lot to offer. I have a lot that I can provide. And so it was almost like a hunger that he had to give and teach and provide that mentorship. And another thing too that nobody really necessarily thinks about is, we talked about time. You hear sometimes this: time, talent, and treasure. But I feel like you don't hear enough about sometimes people donating blood. I noticed that during the pandemic, a lot of need to donate blood or platelets. I used to do that pretty regularly. Something I'm proud of as far as donating is I've donated over 10 gallons of blood and platelets in my lifetime, mostly over about a 12-year period. And but yeah, that was hundreds of lives potentially saved by taking a little time out of my day, 6 minutes, to donate blood, and just maybe an hour and a half to donate platelets. But I got gratification of knowing that I was helping people that I would never meet, cancer patients or whoever it is that needs this. They're receiving something from me that I'm able to do while I'm healthy. And maybe one day I won't be able to donate blood or platelets, but now I can. So, I mean, there's all kinds of different ways, as we're talking about, that people can give back.
And it brings it back again to the, as you said really nicely, it's like we both, as I said, we're in the Go-Giver Success Alliance, and it's just you're getting a lot of love here from Victor. Actually, thanks, Victor, for saying that. And that's exactly what it is. Coming back to the Go-Giver core values, we do not value doesn't mean we don't expect anything in return. And in that case, you don't even know that who actually got your blood, but you have the understanding that you actually did something, and you did something really, really important. And as I do have, I'm sorry, I'm even an organ donor. So I think a lot of people, I was trying to convince many years back, a lot of people to actually do that. And I said, well, what do I really care in the moment? Unfortunately, I end my life here on this planet and I move on. What do I care if my organs are still healthy and they could serve somebody else? Get a pass. I'm sorry, get a pass, because you could help somebody else's life at that point. And it's like, my mom died when I was like 20, and pancreas cancer, 6 months, so quick. Nowadays, we even can do pancreas. They can actually do transplants. At that time, that was not really a thing. So these things are just, obviously medical services have advanced so much over the years so that we can actually do things like that. So why would you not? I mean, people saying in the integrity of your body, but at the end of the day, it's you have passed on. So, what is the problem here? I don't understand. For me, I personally don't understand. So I applaud people like you donating blood. I do as well. And it's just something what you can do. And I think this big detachment of what am I getting in return? I want to say that whatever I do obviously does something, because that's the gratitude that I get from it. We talked earlier, I know I used to be a chef many, many years back, and I went then as a hospitality director to run a big corporation in Asia. And I went to Burma, and I saw a young boy actually in one of the kitchens of the companies I was working for, on a river cruise boat, Orient Express. I'm very open who it was. And I thought the Burmese, living in a really, really, at that time when I was there in Burma, was still, again, military regime, very locked up. They had no chance to advance. I mean, they were getting $200, which was a lot of money for them. But I thought, like, wow, he can never advance. And I saw he was so talented. So I actually sent him, I got him the visa, and I sent him to Thailand to the Cordon Bleu schools. That's where I trained in Paris, but they have a subsidiary school in Bangkok. And I paid for the 3 years of his education there to become a chef. Now nowadays he's an executive chef there. And I was talking, I think, in the Go-Giver Alliance the other day, the ripple effect that has created, the amount of people he has actually taught afterwards is incredible. So I'm very happy, and that's for me the biggest gratitude, because every time I talk to him online nowadays they have Facebook and everything's working as well there. So, and he told me, oh, I just trained another chef right now, and I'm so happy because he's changing these people's lives as much as I've changed his life, actually. And I think that was the important thing, and there was no attachment to it. I really thought he was talented, and I thought he needed to be pushed to do something like that. And I paid it out of my own pocket, and it's like $30,000 for his training. But it didn't matter to me at that point, because I wanted to do something for the country, and that was the best way I could do something in the country to affect other people's life. And by now I know how many people I've affected, but at that time it wasn't even that one. I thought, if I can change 10 people's life there, that would be really great. But I changed probably hundreds of people's lives, actually.
Yeah. And who knows where that will stop, right?
Exactly.
Over many, many years and generations, the opportunity that you've created for so many people is staggering. And you didn't, in that situation, you gave money, and the money was able to be applied to generate further talent and opportunity. So, I mean, that's just it. There's no shortage of ways that people can help. And just going back to what you're saying, you said, I'm not technically getting anything from it, but you are, right? Because you're getting the deep satisfaction of knowing of how you took that money and leveraged that in such a way that it's exponential. And I don't think that a lot of people necessarily take the time to think about that, is how have I helped humanity in ways that might be unique to me or my interests, kind of merging the two things. You said people sometimes are very self-centered. Well, if you can take something that you're particularly interested in, or whatever you're particularly focused on, selfishly or otherwise, and then turn that around and make it so that people are benefiting from your specific self-interest, then that's amazing. And that's natural. People are going to gravitate only toward a few things that they can do. They can't physically or mentally do everything to help all kinds of people. They're going to gravitate toward the things that are most important to them or resonate with them. And that may change over time too, right? It may change that in 10 years from now, you may pivot and do something completely different that means something to you at that time. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you have to stick to one thing your whole life. It could be that you're sticking to a few things now, and then later you're moving to something else. But no matter what, you're reaping the satisfaction of knowing that you did something important. And hopefully the people benefiting from that also do something important. They remember what you did, and it inspires them to do something else. So, yeah.
How to fish instead of handing them the fish to them. Yeah, absolutely, Victor. Absolutely, this is the point, and it's exactly what I do believe in, and it's like I do that even in my coaching practice. So obviously, I coach top level executives, so really on the let's say the top 5% of executives, and I always come in with my go-giver with them. And it's like, and some of them, they understand it and they say, oh, well, we'll be doing charitable things and everything. Like, yeah, but what are you really doing? What are you impacting on? What is your actual impact? It's one thing, as you said, giving the money, it doesn't matter. And, the ripple effect that you can create with actually being personally engaged with something that means something to you as well. And, but I do the same thing. I take on people. We have a certain fee, obviously, and I'm honest. I'm not one of these $250 coaches. That's it. So I'm doing really big clients and big long-term contracts, where I think that's the best where I strive the best of it. But I do take on people as a coach, as you said, with expertise, where I say, okay, I don't even charge for it because I don't want to charge for it. It's just for me, it's a charitable work. And I said, well, let me give you a hand. You're an entrepreneur. And let me give you some of the lessons that I have learned over the last 22 years of practicing as a coach from these big CEOs. And I'm giving that back, that knowledge back as well. And as I said, that's a way of donating as well to the community, because I do believe if we all pull together, we can make this world a way better place, and if we help each other. And that's why I think, like Bob, I mean, I hope one day Bob next year is going to be on the show. I know he's very busy right now, but we had Kathy already on the show. Where we talked about this is exactly what it is. And I hope this Go-Giver network and movement is going to grow exponentially in the next 5 years, because it brings us all back to the core value, what we're actually doing, how we can give value to people and detach ourselves from our selfishness sometimes. And when I was talking about Burma earlier, one thing that really did strike me, people were asking me, I lived, my head offices of Orient Express for Asia was in Bangkok, but then I won the road to Mandalay. The hurricane happened in Burma. We went out there and they bought some hotels and they had the boat there. So I was there, and what shocked me, as everybody's talking about the Buddhist lifestyle in Thailand, I always think it's a bit of commercial Buddhism. So they're very good, like Savatika, and then they turn around and the face drops. So it's actually, they're very good in the commercial way of thing. Thai always had a clip for 50 years, and I said, we have brought the smile to the world. And I was thinking, like, yeah, you brought the commercial smile to the world, because it's not really the Buddhism anymore. You find that in Thailand, don't get me wrong, like in the North, still lives to the real core values of being Buddhist. But then when I came to Burma, that really shocked me, that everybody was genuinely happy. I was in Bagan, they were living in their hoods, basically, literally in their sand hoods there. And what really did strike me, they were really genuinely happy people. They had nothing. The children were playing with wood sticks in the sand. They were cooking on the floor. And one thing that really did strike me there was, I was thinking, like, listen, we have everything and more than we actually need. We have the newest iPhone, newest TV and everything, and we're still not happy. And these people live with the core basics and are the most happy people. And they even give. I mean, they invited me to their houses. They cooked for me. It was like, for them, big deal. They, the little rice they had and everything. And it was just really touching me. When I left Burma, the entire staff, they bought me one of the pagodas that was actually gems, because there in the areas there's a lot of jade and everything. So they built one of the pictures that was built out of little gemstone, really expensive, what you would think, and probably for them $150. They all chipped in together. They actually brought me into tears, because for them doing that, but they saw how much I did for them, and just was a sense where I said, like, I'd take them out for dinner one evening. They couldn't afford it, but that was not about, for me, money was not the point here. It was just helping them to help themselves. And but I got so much in return. As I said, right. This is where the Go-Giver comes with me. However, being honest to you, for many years, I believe paying forwards. Mm-hmm. And then with Bob, it just brought me to a reasoning where I said, well, paying forward, you expect that you got something. Now, I've completely detached myself of that one, getting something in return. I'm just giving and giving and giving, and I believe in that. And then obviously I trust in the fifth law, where it says, be open for receiving, and we will receive. And that comes in from different points. Nothing money value. There might be so much other value that I might get from other people. Like you being here is for me value. That's for me so much value, actually. And educating other people of going that sense and actually doing that. So
thank you.
How do you feel in the Go-Giver Alliance? I mean, this must be really resonating for you as well.
Oh yeah. Well, my story about how I came to be familiar with the Go-Giver book and the whole ethos was because I sat down with a gentleman in a cafe in Manchester, New Hampshire, and we were talking. And through the course of the conversation, I realized I had 7 different people that I could introduce him to. And I was just taking a mental note of all these different people. And when we were finished talking, I went back to the office and I fired out 7 emails and I copied him. And I just said, you need to know each other. Mm-hmm. And he was so moved by that. But it was very natural for me to do it. I felt almost like a duty to do that. I felt like I have to introduce him to these people. He doesn't know them, but they have to know each other. So, which is why I did it. There was nothing really in it for me other than to help him. So, so anyway, he sent me the Go Giver book because he said, Rick, you've given me a lot of work to do. Ha ha ha. I have a lot of things I need to do now. But he was very moved by that, and he gave me the book, and he said, this book reminds me of you. And so I read it cover to cover, and I said, wow, this is real. This really resonates with me. I identify with this philosophy. And then I started to realize there are a lot of people who give in a quid pro quo way. I give something to you because you're going to help me, but they're not necessarily giving to give. They're giving for the benefit of that other person. What does Chris need? How can I help Chris? And just be in that zone and help you. And once you start to do that, you realize there's so much more I can do. You become a better connector. You become a better person, I guess, in many ways, because you're connecting people who need to know each other with others, and they wouldn't be able to do that without you as an individual who's a connector. But so, and there's a nice legacy associated with that, because back to what you were saying about giving money, or the fact that there's this exponential effect, one never knows what the effect is from connecting people with each other that need to know each other, and doing things like that out of just the sheer pleasure and duty, if that's the right word, to help people in ways that they need to be helped. And sometimes in ways they don't even need, right? I need to introduce you to this person. You didn't even ask for this.
Yes, exactly.
But I know that you should know this person. And I know that as someone, when I was younger, I would have loved to have people do that to me. Not that people weren't helping me, but not in the ways maybe that they could have, in more of that way, where they could say, well, I have a whole network of people that I know. I'm just going to introduce you and see where the day takes you. I think that maybe some people didn't trust that they had good networks. Maybe they didn't think they could be that helpful. Maybe they were overthinking it. I'm not sure. But I just know that as I get older, it becomes easier and easier for me to introduce people to other people, because my network has expanded. And the opposite's true. People are introducing people to me. I'm introducing people to other people, but people are getting sending people my way, so I can get to know people. So it just feels like the more you have in that way, the more you have as a network, the more you want to share that network with other people, because it doesn't matter who they are, it doesn't matter where they came from, doesn't matter anything. It's just like these two people or these three people need to connect. And so anyway, that's a really long answer to your question about the Go Giver.
But it's amazing. You're absolutely brilliant to point. But you see, I wanted to ask you something, because you brought up something like, well, when we were younger. And I don't know how you see it. I think our education system is not really set up to teach people these life lessons and say, like, wow, if you help other people, that you can actually do such an impact. Unfortunately, I always feel that it's all set up. You need to go for the biggest point. You need to be the best in your class. You need to be best in university. You need to go for the highest position and focus on that. And I think charitable giving should be part of our social education in schools nowadays. And I don't know, maybe that has been back, because as I say, I'm 50, but I don't know how it was before it. But I can look back in my high school, junior high school, and even university. This was never a subject. And it was like, okay, they might have, we might have done charitable work where we cleaned up the grounds in the city, but that was like once in a year, and we did that, just for a project. But beside of that, there was nothing. How can you help other people? And I just felt like it was so all me focused.
Yeah, if anything, our society sometimes encourages you to keep your head down, study, get good grades, do all the things that we tell you to do, but there's sometimes lacks that idea of, well, what's my duty to society? Exactly. I mean, the idea of it takes a village. And if somebody thinks back to their childhood, how many people just were helping them, not because they had to, but because they just were kind people and they wanted to do something nice for somebody. I mean, there's countless examples where we could all, if we really thought about it, going back to those times where that person didn't have to do that for me. That
Mhm.
person didn't have to pull over and help me change my tire. That person
Yeah.
didn't have to pay for my groceries, as you just talked about. They didn't have to do that, but they did. And they went that extra mile. And it's like, we just don't, it's like somehow we don't encourage that as we should societally. And it's because we're, I don't know, it's more like, you're on your own, kid, go and make a go of it, and do your best. And I mean, sometimes you'll hear people say, well, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Okay. But then if that's true, then how come people aren't really trying to help other people get to know other people? It's just, again, I don't know if it's they lack confidence in their own network. I don't know if they're just not taught those skills, but it seems like there's so many opportunities for people to be helping in all kinds of different ways, and they just don't. So I feel like it has that negative effect. That what would it look like if everyone were functioning that way? Oh my gosh, I mean, it would
God,
be just a
the
different
world was so
conversation.
different.
Yeah, the
Yes.
world would be very, very different. I
And it's
mean,
like you're saying that's the simple things, like even the granny that walks down the street with a heavy bag of shopping. You passing her, why you don't offer?
yeah,
When don't you offer? Do you want me to carry that for you? I mean,
right,
you know her. You have seen her 20,000 times. She's living three houses away from you. What is your problem?
right,
What is your problem? I
yeah,
see I see colleagues in the street, and I just said, "Do you need a lift?"
yeah. Well,
It's
so
just
so you reminded me of something that happened last winter. My wife and I walked through this neighborhood sometimes together just to get some exercise, and it was after a snowstorm. And so we're walking, and we literally saw people, usually older people, trying to shovel themselves out. And I said to my wife, should we just help them? Should we just start shoveling? So we walked over to these people and we said, do you want us to shovel? And they laughed because they thought we were joking. I said, no, we really want to help you. And they said, really? You want to shovel my driveway? We don't even know each other. I said, yeah, we can do it. So my wife and I just cranked it out. We shoveled their driveway. They weren't big driveways, but we shoveled the end of the driveway in 10 minutes. And these people were so thankful. They couldn't even believe it happened. And then we walked down the street and we shoveled another driveway. And people were just very grateful and kind of incredulous. They were looking at us, not really believing that we weren't, why would we do that? But it's because we could, right? We were physically able. They were struggling.
yeah.
And so my wife and I were joking, like, maybe we shouldn't walk down the street anymore because, we're going to be shoveling driveways. That's what will happen. But it was just our little joke. But we had great gratification. We still talk about it. My wife and I
Mm.
still will talk about it. Remember that time we passed this driveway? And but it was very satisfying. And it was a little extra work. It took us maybe 25 minutes total to do these driveways. But anyway, it's just one small thing that we can
But
do
one
to help
small
other
thing
people.
that changed their life
Yeah,
and impacted their life so much, and that they will remember as well. And that might trigger them to do something else that they are able to do for somebody else. And that's what I think it's like, if we all do that together, we could change these ripple effects around the world, which would
right.
be amazing and
Yeah,
absolutely amazing. Just take
yeah.
5 minutes of your day and think about what you can do for somebody else
Right.
and be doing that. And I think that's just, I think it's a way how to see life. And I see that for so many years. As I said, initially it was this paying forward, but then when I came across Bob and his books, Bob and John David Mann's book, because I always have to mention John David, because I think Bob takes a lot of credit, and he should have a lot of credit, but obviously, and he says himself, but John, without John, I wouldn't be here today right now. So it's like,
Right.
and I think the Bows, they brought out a message that is so important. And then the Go-Giver, the first book, I don't know if you read the Go-Giver Influencer. That's
Not
what
yet.
you have to read that one, because it talks now about how can you even influence other people and impact other people, and where you become a better. I mean, the entire series is amazing. So, but my favorite one is the Go-Giver Influencer. Obviously, as a coach, that's really even more resonating to me than the original story. And I think it's just the thing where he said, like, we have to do that. We have to move forward and bring that out. And it can be in the simplest ways sometimes. I know sometimes people just go like, really, you want to help me? What's wrong with you?
Yeah,
And I'm like,
right. It's like they feel like they don't deserve it, or they feel like
yeah,
you have an underlying motive, and it's just it's unfortunate that people feel that way, because all it should be natural. It should be like, Chris, how can I help you today? What do you need? Can I do something small? Can I make an introduction for you? Can I bring something to the store for you? Can I pick some? I mean, I'm probably out doing things. I could do something extra for you or our neighbor or whoever. And it doesn't take a lot of effort, but I think it's just not second nature to people. But once you start to do it, I think people receive it well. And as you say, you have to receive it from others as well. You can't reject help
yeah,
when people are trying to give you help. It should be thank you, and accept that and realize that it's all one continuum, right?
mm,
So I mean, I think that's part of the legacy too. And I think there's something that was said a long time ago. I'm not sure who said it. I want to say it's Maya Angelou, but she said something like, um, people don't remember what you did, but they do remember how you made them
to
feel.
feel,
Yeah.
yes,
And I agree with that. You think about it, someone's funeral or memorial service, they're not talking necessarily about the person's accomplishments. Sometimes they are,
mm,
but usually the people standing up and talking are saying, this person did this and it really touched me. Or they spend an extra amount of time with me. They walked me through something, they taught me something, or they held my hand when I was down.
mm,
That's what people talk about, right? They affected my life in a very positive way, usually emotionally. And that's a terrific legacy to leave. If people say, I remember Chris because he did this and he was selfless, he
mm.
helped, and I want to do that in his honor or in his memory. I also want to do that. And maybe it's conscious and maybe it's subconsciously, but it sends a message of, we're here for each other, we're here to
Oh.
help each other out.
You bring it really to point, because you see, I released the Kindle version, but the the hard copies are coming out. I released my new book. So the book is more about procrastination and why we do things. So I'm obsessed because with ADHD, I have been obsessed for the last 40 plus years on figuring out how our brain works. And one of the things that comes even, and then we sort of talk about procrastination, it's not about things that we do, it's how we feel. And actually, why we don't do something, it's about an emotion that we do have that holds back, fear, whatever. And one of the biggest motivations is fear about something, whatever it's like. But it all comes out down to emotion. And one of the biggest things we have to understand, our brain works actually by emotions. So whatever it does, we always trying to get around something that doesn't make us feel uncomfortable. So this is the feeling we have. It makes us something. So we always go try to the more comfortable thing. And as you said, it's the same thing with other people. They don't remember what you did, but they will remember how you make them feel. And I find it's really interesting. That is something that people don't understand most of the time, or they don't look at it but when you look back in your life, you always say the people that have impacted you has impacted you the most is the person that made you feel special, that made you feel heard, seen. And one of the things is actually at the ending of my book, I said, I challenge you to actually do something for other people, where I talk about the go-giver values. And I said, my supermarket, actually, I announced it with the supermarket challenge. And then I said, oh, I forgot, here's the supermarket challenge. And the supermarket challenge just actually randomly talk to the cashier and ask her genuine questions. Not that, hi, how are you doing today? Go beyond that. Ask her genuine questions. And I said, you might start with her initially, because people are so in the habit of doing what we do. It's like, hi, how are you doing? Fine, fine. And you're fine. And I have a great day. Bye.
Yeah.
But we don't even communicate and engage with the person. But I said, and my final sentence is like, you will have given her so much more value than you know. Actually, she has been seen. And that is one of the biggest things we forget. We don't give people, well, the point that they're seen. And as I say, we go through our world, we pass things, we don't even look at them. And just, this is the biggest value you can give it. And that is already as well a charitable thing to actually stop at somebody and it says, how are you doing today?
Yeah.
How is your day going today? Is there anything I can help you with?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have met Estelle or you have spoken to Estelle. Estelle,
I did yesterday, as a matter of fact.
Okay, fantastic. And she's an amazing woman. So
yeah.
One day, actually, I said to Estelle, and I think she talked about last week about it in the Go-Giver Alliance, where she said, I have to really thank Chris because he's really kicking my butt. And at one stage, she's like, well, I have given her, it was just a call. We were doing something together. We were building this mastermind circle, actually, for CEO executive, for C-suite executives, like a Facebook for C-suite executives, just safe haven to have conversations and everything. So I decided to do that with Estelle together because I think she actually did already community manager for London Real, so she has a lot of experience. So that's what it's like. But then eventually, I was kicking her butt literally with her business, and I said, "Well, so you know what? You're playing a bit small here, aren't you? It's like you might want to look a bit further. You have done all this, look at your own things." And it actually turned out into like a 2.5-hour coaching session, and then between we had several coaching sessions. And then and she said to me at one stage, she's like, so I'm going to pay you for that. Well, how much are your hours? And I was like, don't be silly. Honestly, it's like, don't be silly. I'm giving you the value because I want to. I want to give you my experience. This is my charitable giving to you. But I know you as a coach will impact so many other people afterwards. And that is my legacy I'm leaving. I'm 50. I don't know how many years I do have. It scares the crap out of me. It's like when I turned 50 this year, I was like, holy cow. It goes so quick, isn't it?
Right.
It's kind of funny. It accelerates at the end of your life for some reason. It's like, the name of the book, Victor, is Ignite Your Sparkle and Stop Effing Around. So that's what the book is. Anyway, it's just, I have to be very honest here. It's just, that's what you said. We're just giving to people without, and we're doing so much impact with that. And I see it. She's a coach. She will impact so many other people with whatever I give her as an experience and value. And I think, if you all do that, we change the world together.
We do change the world together. We share our knowledge. We pass on the experiences from other people before us. Because I think there's a Steve Martin quote of all people. He said something like, you use everything. And I would like to think that you not only use everything for yourself and your own career and journey, but you can help use that for the benefit of other people too.
Yeah.
And what would that look like? And so I think that it's something that we should always be reminding ourselves of, is like, am I useful? Am I somebody who is contributing to society, to what my neighbor needs, to what strangers need? And if we can think like that, I feel like it's just part of the fabric of humanity. And it centers you and makes you feel like you're part of something greater. And going back to legacy, whether or not you're alive or not alive, the legacy of whatever you just did will continue on. And that's why I do the work that I do. That's why I try to work with people and try to help other people. It's just, you almost feel in some ways like you're not doing enough, right? I could be doing more to help other people because so many people did so many things during life to help me in countless ways. And there's so much we can give.
Which brings it to the final thought here. Was Bob always said in one of the stratospheric success laws is like, your value is determined by how abundantly you put other people's interests first. And that is this is such a core sentence for me, because exactly puts it down to the point. Think about other people's first, and then that is what your value is actually to the society and to this planet. I think I don't know where you sit religious beliefs, and I am not anymore, because I grew up in a cult and I talked about all that at the Go-Giver Alliance. But for me, it's like, there's a reason why I'm here, and there's a reason why I do what I do. And yes, I went deviated in my life sometimes as well, but I actually eventually found my true calling, and that was coaching other and helping other people. And that's how I see coaching anyway. It's not therapy. I'm actually helping you to move forward in your life. And that should always be the goal setting for me. It's not the monetary exchange that comes with it. Yes, I charge for it. That is normal. But I do as well a lot of that where I don't charge. And I give the first 2 hours, I actually do, as I said, I don't like to do free discovery calls. My first connection with you is going to be a 2-hour Zoom call where I'll give you a full coaching, life-changing coaching experience for 2 hours. And I will fix your problem with you and give you the tools to do that. Then afterwards, you can decide to continue with me or not. But I want to get to know you. And that I think is the biggest value anyway, because I listen to you and I listen to your problem and I can give you maybe advice. And as I said, I never go into any of these sessions with, oh, is this going to become a customer? Because when I go with that way, with this thinking into it, I know it's not going to become a client. And it's kind of funny. It's always these people where I go with and I've detached myself completely from this, free discovery call. And, like everybody teaches you, do like low entry courses and then you gradually. I don't do that. I don't do that at all. I don't have even, I avoided LinkedIn for about the last 10 years because I always thought like, I don't need that. I don't like social media. I don't like Instagram. I have an Instagram account I probably haven't been on for ages because my clients and public speaking was always by referrals. And I didn't need that. And everybody teaches you, you need to do this. You need to be on Facebook. You need to do that. And I'm like, no, we started this channel now last year. This year, actually, beginning of this year, sorry. And it was just like something we started because Kelly and I thought we needed to do something like that. But then again, as you said, Matthew last week, he reached out to me. He said, like, listen, I can help you with your podcast, actually. And I think I can give you more impact. And I said, thank you very much, which is great.
Yeah.
But I didn't even go into that. That's not the point of doing that here. I think these conversations, as I said, I get so much value out of this conversation. I learned so much from you, from everybody that I had on the show so far. And I think that is what it is. That's how I use it, not as a lead generator. It is about giving other people that watching right now or on replay later on, giving the value and to think about what they could do to impact other people as well and to put that in there. Yeah. It has been such a pleasure to have you on the show. We already are at the top of the hour. You see, I told you it goes by an hour. We could actually probably have so much more to talk. And I wanted to talk about you doing improv. So let me really quickly ask you. So what do? You do improv. I think that's amazing.
Yes, I do improv. I've been doing improv for, I can't believe this, but almost 30 years. In fact, this Friday, we have a show that we're doing outside because of COVID, but we're going to do an outside improv show with my long-time group called Kamikaze Comedy. That's the group. And I think I've been with them, for 25 years, but I've been doing improv for 30. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. It's giving back in a way that makes people laugh. You're actually taking their suggestions and then just turning them into a scene. And it's a load of fun. And we've done it for many, many years for first night. And some of my happiest memories are being in front of a big crowd. And, there's a guessing game and we're the audience is waiting for the team to come up with that. And it's the tension's there right up to the last moment. And then they guess it. And then the audience erupts with laughter and applause. And that's the end of the show. So, but I've enjoyed it. And you can do it with anybody who knows improv. You just stand up on stage and you take suggestions from the audience. One thing that for the group, the listeners today and the viewers today, it's not stand-up comedy, which is you go in with a specific set of jokes or stories that you want to tell. This is literally, here's a game, like whose line is it anyway? It's a game where there's a structure but we don't know what we're going to do because we need to know who we are, what location we're in, and maybe what's the first word and sometimes what's the last word. And then you just go and you either have a lot of fun with it in doing improv or it scares you to death. And so I love it. I think it's a lot of fun.
It's fascinating. I love improv, actually. I think it's so much fun to go there. I know I do like stand-up comedy as well, but I think improv is so much better because as you said, it is unscripted. It just goes off. These are the rules, and off you go. And it turns out into so much fun, actually, to see that. So, you know, I applaud you for that, of course.
Thank you. And I've also thought about, as far as giving back, I thought, wouldn't it be great to teach kids improv at a younger age? I did do an improv camp about 13 years ago, and talking about impact, kids still talk about it. Kids, my two sons who were part of the camp, they said people still talk about that improv camp. So I mean, I think that's unique, right? It's not something you learn every day. It's not something everybody learns to do at an early age. But I just thought maybe I could start to do that in schools and bring out people's creativity and their ability to listen to other people and add to a scene, not be the star of the show, but more be a player amongst other players on stage to tell a story. So there's a lot of things I really enjoy about improv, and maybe that's what I can do.
Fantastic. And as I say, you said, how much value and how much are you giving? And that is, as you say, charitable giving as well, making other people laugh. What a great thing. Changing other people's mood is one of the biggest values you can give to people.
Yeah.
And, you know, some people have a bad day, and then having a laugh sometimes is just really, I think, the biggest value you can have in a day.
Oh.
And I think I really applaud you for that.
Thank you.
As I say, Rick, it was such a pleasure. Unfortunately, Kellyanne didn't make it. I'm sure she had a problem to come online.
Yeah.
But that's how things happen. We have that's a running joke between Kellyanne and I. Every week. Last week, I had created this video, and I didn't notice. Matthew said to me, "There's a bit of echo," and I said, "Oh, maybe it's my loudspeaker." What I didn't recognize was that my sound system was set onto echo because I had created the end of the clip, which was like ho ho ho, Merry Christmas, and I had it lift on echo, so the entire show I was on an echo. So I did it. There's every week something going wrong, but that makes it fun as well. It makes it real and authentic to us. It's like that's how we are. I'm sure I'm going to bring you back because I think you have so much more to tell, and I'd like to get Kellyanne as well. You know, as I said, she's a major with the military nurse thing, so I think you will be a very good fit as well to have a chat. So we're definitely going to bring you back next year on stage. If I don't speak to you I might see you tomorrow, actually, the Gogiver Alliance. But otherwise, I wish you a very successful start into 2022. And thank you again for being our guest. And just stay online for one more minute as I close down the show. And I see you all next week, next Tuesday. I think we have Donna actually on, and Donna is a coach, business coach for realtors, but she does a little bit more than just teaching people how to do real estate. So I'm really excited to have her as well next week. Thank you again, Rick, and have a great night.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.